Hi guys, this is Kaushik, and I'll be taking lectures on Python in the multiple sections, and we'll be covering most of the concepts required in Python. We'll be starting from the basic level, and we'll be advancing towards the advanced topics of Python. And at the end of this tutorial, after covering every topics, we should be able to build an application using all the concepts, and that application would be like pretty advanced and using all the concept that we have learned from the basic concepts. So yeah, so let's start with the introduction to the Python. So as you are aware, so Python is an interpreter language, just like a lot of other interpreter languages available. So one of the comparable language would be uh, JavaScript. So as we can see, the competitive market revolves around either Python or the JavaScript, people following either one of the languages for the implementation of their projects. And there are pretty good reasons why this is surrounded around Python and JavaScript. So let's cover some of the features that Python as an interpreter language provides. So, so as you all know, Python was invented in the early 1990s by Guido von Rossum. So apparently Guido von Rossum is currently working in at Dropbox. Previously he was working in Google. So coming to the Python, the Python has its own advantages and disadvantages compared to any other interpreter languages. So few of the advantages are, so we can see that appealingly see that it's a dynamic uh, typed language. So that means you don't have to worry about the data types in the language. You don't have to worry about the types when you define the variables, which is in many other languages you do have to worry about it. Although in the recent versions of Python you do have typed script, that means you can have your give restriction to the data types when you pass it as argument to any functions, although it's not mandatory in any of the versions of Python. So we don't have to worry about when we start the basic of Python. So and also other advantages, it's a automatic memory management language, so you don't have to worry about the memory it consumes, or handling any of the variables and handling the memory jobs or any other equivalent jobs. And so Python has a lot of reference implementations. So few of them are CPython, PyPy, or MicroPython. So like we said, each reference project implementation has its own advantages, and people tend to use those reference projects based on their requirements. So we'll be using the standard Python interpreter that every basic author might be using to start with the Python. So other advantages are, the Python is a multiple programming paradigm project. So it has object-oriented programming style. It has procedural oriented, so that means you don't have to strictly write always your program in object oriented. You can write on the procedural oriented. That means you can write it with a bunch of functions and statements and not worry about how to construct an object oriented classes always. So we'll be covering all these concepts in detail in the next coming chapters. These are the just fun features that we are just talking about right now. And also it's a functional language. As functional language is one of the hottest topics right now that people there are a lot of languages which has gained popularity in functional level. So Python is one of the functional programming language. Although it's not purely functional programming language, you can use it as a functional programming language. And one of the huge advantage of Python is that it has a huge set of standard libraries supported. So you don't have to worry about a third party software to implement your application, or you don't have to uh, uh, take any support from any other languages and bind those libraries to your Python has already lot of library support which is implemented in Python, or any other language which is binded already in the Python standard libraries. So coming to the advanced use cases of Python, so Python is widely used in most of the fields that we which are hot in the market. So to name few of them, so if you take, they are used in networking, they're used in automation in industries, so they are used in artificial intelligence or machine language, they are used in data science, and also they are widely used in a lot of projects in blockchain technology as well. So Python could be used in a lot of different way and different, so it does have a lot of scope in any of the industry market. So okay, so this is the brief introduction about Python, to just get motivated why to follow Python routine, why to get started with Python. So now let's start with the whatever requirement we need for this tutorial. So this would be the key to dive into Python. So I'll be talking about whatever infrastructure or whatever tools that I'll be using throughout the lectures. To start with, so I'll be using a Linux system, that's Ubuntu 16.04. Uh, so you are free to use your own choice of operating system like Windows or Mac, or the Linux, any other different flavors, or any Unix based operating systems. But it's good if you select Ubuntu, because it would be rather easy to uh, install all the tools which I will be using, or going for any other application that we will be building. Or so although you don't have to worry about all this, because Python is a portable language, you can run on any of them. I just would prefer if you could use any of the Linux flavor. So although so I'll be providing all the instruction or references which would be needing to you to run the tools in any other operating systems. Okay, to start with, so I'll be using the IDE called as IntelliJ. So the IntelliJ is nothing but so it's an IDE which was initially developed for Java. But the beauty about IntelliJ is that so it can run any of the languages, and it can act as IDE for any of the languages. So I would prefer people use PyCharm for Python. So it's a version of it's developed by JetBrains by IntelliJ people, but it just runs Python. So IntelliJ, the advantage of IntelliJ is that it can run any of the languages. It supports any of the languages, not run. It supports any of the languages. Uh, so so PyCharm would be the preferred IDE for the Python development. So it's just runs a Python. Uh, it's in an IntelliJ kind of environment. So if you are supposed to use, if you like to use all language bundled together, you can use the IntelliJ version. So I'm using a you can use a community version or the professional version. So community version is free of charge. So for Python I would prefer people using the IntelliJ community version, so you don't have to worry about paying stuff. And so once you install IntelliJ, if you're not using PyCharm particularly for Python, you have to use a plugin for Python in IntelliJ. So that I have already done and set up this in IntelliJ. So and other things we'll be needing is throughout the this tutorial, I'll be going through some of the lectures of from through the Jupyter notebook. So to say what is Jupyter notebook, it's a notebook, like it represents the data in the markdown language, and also it gives the support for running the Python in its own kernel. So it has a support. You can integrate your system's interpreter and run that as a kernel in Jupyter notebooks. So I'll show that in detail. So the main advantage is that you don't have to worry about running that. So the Jupyter takes care of running your script along with the documentation, which I have already set up everything in this particular project. So all you need is a browser and a Jupyter. So the first thing you should be doing is cloning this. So you should have a Git installed in your system. So I prefer just clone this particular project. Sorry, I already have this, but so I'll delete it and clone again. So it's cloning. Okay, might take few seconds. So the next thing we should be doing is we need to install Jupyter and Python. So the Python, I would suggest people installing Python more than 3.5. It needs Python 3, but 3.5 plus or 3.6 would be preferred as of now. The latest release is 3.6.2, I guess. Okay. So we have downloaded our lecture project. So if you can see, this has a lecture. So the first thing you need to do is install the Python. So there are a lot of documentation which is available online. So just go there and install the Python interpreter 3.5, I would prefer. So once you have a Python, you will be having pip installed. Pip is a package manager which comes along with the Python installation. So that will be installed in your system. So and also there will be by default in Ubuntu Python 2.7 installed. So you would be getting the Python 2.7 if you haven't set up the path properly. So explicitly you can say you need Python 3. So you will have Python 3 and you can do some stuffs with that, so that will carry out later. Okay, once you have this, so you need to install the Jupyter notebook. So we will be using pip to install our Jupyter. Okay, so this takes a little bit of time, depends on your system and the network speed. Okay. So in the meantime, the other things that we'll be needing is a browser and the IDE setup. So the IDE that we will be using is, so let's open our project, quickly open our project, the Python lectures. Okay, so we got, so why do we need the IDE is that although we have notebooks that we can run all our projects in Chrome without needing an IDE to set up. So we'll be using some scripts or to later to make our project. So we'll be using our IDE. So you can go through the IDE, your own IDE, whatever you're using. So the setup to set your interpreter so that you can run directly your programs from right here. So these are the steps. So in IntelliJ, so let's say we inside this project, let's create a directory called scripts, and I will add a Python intro script module here. So in the configuration, I'll say I'll open this script and run using whatever the interpreter. This I have already set up. You have to set up through the manual of whatever IDE you're using. So once I have this, I'll write one sample print statement in Python. This is how you write a print statement. Hello world. So you run it, so you will get the output right here, hello world. So you don't have to, so it could be done in a lot of different ways. So you can run directly from your a terminal. So this is a terminal of Ubuntu, as I told. So you can run Python 3 scripts intro, so you will get the hello world output. Okay, so once we have installed this Jupyter, so what we will do is we will run our, so again so the documentation about the Jupyter would be available online. So once you have installed the Jupyter, just launch your notebook just like this, Jupyter notebook. All these instructions are there in the repo anyways. So this is how it will open in the directory which I'm currently in this terminal. So we'll get all the notebooks which are present over there. So in the intro to Python directory, we'll have all the notebooks which is required to go through all the tutorials going forward. Okay, so in the next section we'll start with the basics, the first chapter of the notebook in the Jupyter.